Let me ask you something. When was the last time a woman asked you a question, a small, innocent question, and you thought nothing of it? Maybe she said, "Do you work out here often?" Or "What watch is that? It looks nice." Most men shrug it off, smile politely, and move on. But here's the truth, 90% of older men don't realize that those questions aren't just questions. They're signals. They're openings. They're opportunities. And the tragedy, most men miss them, because they've forgotten how to see themselves as interesting, desirable, confident men. Today, I'm going to show you how to change that, how to recognize when a woman's actually hitting on you, and more importantly, how to respond like a man who knows his worth. Confidence isn't about age, it's about awareness. Most men grow older believing that confidence naturally fades as the years go by, as if the moment gray hair appears, self-assurance begins to dissolve. But confidence was never about how young you looked, how tight your skin was, or how fast you could run. It's about something much deeper, something that time can't touch. Your awareness of who you are, what you bring to the table, and how you show up in the world. Awareness is the lens through which confidence becomes visible. Without it, even the most attractive man can walk through life unseen, unheard, and unappreciated. When you're young, confidence often comes easy because awareness is limited. You don't overthink, you don't calculate outcomes, you simply act. You believe you can because no one's told you enough times that you can't. But as you grow older, life gives you experiences. Some that lift you, some that break you. And with every experience, your awareness expands. You begin to understand consequences, patterns, people's intentions, your own flaws, and your own strengths. The tragedy is that most men take this awareness and let it turn into doubt. They overanalyze, they hesitate, they remember every rejection more vividly than every success. They think, "I'm not as young as I used to be," instead of realizing, "I'm more aware than I've ever been." The truth is, awareness should make you more confident, not less. Think about it, a man in his 40s or 50s has seen life from multiple angles. He's faced failure, rejection, heartbreak, responsibility, success, and loss. He knows the world doesn't revolve around appearance or instant approval. He knows that people are drawn to energy, to presence, to someone who carries himself like he understands life. That's awareness in action. The young man may have energy, but the older man has depth. The young man might talk loudly to impress, but the older man knows when silence speaks louder than words. Awareness gives you control over your emotions, your reactions, and your choices. And that control is where real confidence lies. Awareness makes you see yourself differently. Instead of chasing validation, you begin to understand that your value isn't something to prove. It's something to own. Most men lose confidence because they forget their own story. They forget the battles they've won, the lessons they've learned, the wisdom they've earned. Awareness reconnects you with that story. It makes you realize that every scar has a lesson behind it, every failure a piece of wisdom, every disappointment a sharpening of your vision. When you know yourself deeply, your limits, your desires, your purpose, the world can no longer shake you so easily. That is why confidence grows not from youth, but from conscious self-awareness. A man aware of himself doesn't need to pretend. He doesn't need to fake charm, fake success, or fake strength. He operates from truth. He knows when to lead and when to listen. He knows when to engage and when to walk away. He knows that silence can be power, and that kindness can coexist with dominance. When you move through life with that awareness, confidence becomes natural, even effortless. It's not about posturing, it's about presence, the unspoken message that says, "I know who I am." Awareness also changes how you see others. When you're younger, attraction often revolves around physical beauty or external validation. You chase approval because you think it confirms your worth. But awareness shifts your perception. You start to notice subtleties, body language, tone, intent, authenticity. You can tell when someone's genuine or when they're playing a game. And that discernment gives you quiet confidence, because you're no longer desperate for attention. You see beyond the surface. You can look at a woman and recognize not just her beauty, but her energy, her curiosity, her motives. You can sense when she's showing interest. Those small hints, those playful questions that younger men overlook. Awareness sharpens your intuition. It helps you read what's happening around you without needing to chase or guess. When you operate from awareness, you stop competing. Confidence isn't about proving you're better than someone else. It's about realizing you have nothing to prove. You stop measuring yourself by what others have or how they look. You focus on your path, your growth, your purpose. That calm focus radiates confidence. People feel it before you speak. Women especially notice it because awareness makes a man grounded, and groundedness is magnetic. It's the quiet assurance that says, I don't need to impress you, but I'm fully present with you. That's far more attractive than any clever line or flashy gesture. Awareness gives you perspective. You begin to understand that every situation, whether social or personal, is an exchange of energy. If you walk into a room anxious or self-conscious, people feel that. If you walk in aware of your own value, aware of your posture, your tone, your energy, people respond differently. It's not arrogance, it's alignment. You're aligned with yourself, not lost in self-doubt or external comparison. That alignment is the secret to timeless confidence. It doesn't fade with age, it evolves. Older men often underestimate this power. They think they've lost their spark because society tells them that youth equals attraction. But awareness allows you to redefine attraction. It's not about chasing trends, it's about embodying depth. When you speak from awareness, your words carry weight. When you move with awareness, your presence commands attention. You stop trying to impress and start to express. You express authenticity, clarity, purpose. And that expression, rooted in awareness, becomes the foundation of unshakable confidence. Awareness also makes you more empathetic. You realize that everyone, even the people who seem confident, carries their own insecurities. That awareness softens your judgment and expands your patience. You no longer see rejection as a reflection of your worth, but as a reflection of timing, compatibility, or circumstance. You understand that confidence isn't about always being chosen. It's about always choosing yourself. When you reach that level of inner awareness, external validation loses its grip. You become more peaceful, more attractive, more magnetic, not because you try harder, but because you finally stop trying to be someone else. Every stage of life gives you a chance to deepen your awareness. The mistake most men make is believing that self-improvement ends after a certain age. But awareness is a lifelong process. The more you observe your habits, your thoughts, your reactions, the more control you gain over them. You start noticing how fear sneaks in, how self-doubt whispers, how hesitation steals opportunity. And because you're aware, you can change it. You can choose confidence deliberately, instead of waiting for it to appear. Confidence built on awareness doesn't crumble under pressure. It's stable because it's rooted in truth, not illusion. Awareness also makes you see how confidence expresses itself physically. It's in the way you stand, the way you breathe, the way you maintain eye contact, the way you listen. Aware men know their bodies, their energy, their presence. They don't rush their words, because they understand that time bends around confidence. They don't chase attention, because they know attention naturally flows toward awareness. When you walk with purpose and authenticity, you command respect without demanding it. It's important to recognize that awareness and arrogance are opposites. Arrogance is blind confidence, it ignores awareness, it's loud, fragile, and dependent on ego. Awareness, on the other hand, is quiet, resilient, and rooted in truth. The more aware you become, the less you need to prove. You're not seeking to dominate, you're seeking to connect. You don't need to boast about what you've done, because your energy already communicates that you're capable, experienced, and grounded. Awareness replaces insecurity with calm certainty. Confidence through awareness also transforms how you face challenges. Instead of seeing obstacles as proof of failure, you start to view them as opportunities for growth. You become aware of your reactions, the fear, the hesitation, and instead of running from them, you engage with them. You ask, what is this trying to teach me? That mindset turns every struggle into training for greater confidence. You start trusting yourself again, not because you always succeed, but because you always learn. Awareness makes you more intentional. You stop living on autopilot. You start choosing your words, your actions, your relationships. You begin to understand the power of presence. That the most confident people aren't the loudest, they're the most present. They're fully there in each moment, not distracted by what others might think. That kind of presence can only come from deep awareness. It's why some men can enter a room quietly and still change the energy without saying a word. At its core, confidence born from awareness is freedom. Freedom from comparison, from fear, from pretending. It's the freedom to show up as yourself, knowing that who you are is enough. That awareness is available at any age. It doesn't matter if you're 25 or 65. The moment you become conscious of your value, your energy shifts. You stop waiting for permission to be confident. You realize you already are, as long as you stay aware of the truth that confidence was never about time passing. It was always about the clarity of seeing yourself, without illusion, without doubt, without apology. Opportunities don't disappear, they just go unnoticed. Every single day, life places moments of possibility in front of us, but most of them pass quietly, disguised as ordinary interactions, small chances, or fleeting ideas. We often think opportunities are rare, that they only come once in a lifetime, or that they belong to people luckier or more connected than us. But the truth is, opportunities are everywhere. The difference lies in whether we are aware enough to see them. Most people don't miss opportunities because they're not given any. They miss them because they're not looking closely enough. Awareness, timing, and courage separate those who notice from those who overlook. The mind has a way of filtering what it believes is possible. When you think opportunities are scarce, you subconsciously ignore them. You don't notice the small openings in conversations, the chance meetings that could change direction, or the subtle invitations that life gives through other people. For example, someone might mention an event, a project, or an idea in passing, and instead of exploring it, you dismiss it as irrelevant. Days later, you see someone else take that same opportunity and thrive. That doesn't mean your chance disappeared. It means you didn't recognize it for what it was. Opportunities rarely vanish. They simply move on to the next person who's ready to see them. Every opportunity begins as something small and almost invisible. It might look like a simple question, a random encounter, a casual suggestion, or even a setback that forces you to change direction. The problem is we often expect opportunities to arrive with fanfare, with clear signs, with certainty. We want them to look impressive, to feel obvious, to be safe. But most of the life-changing moments start quietly. The conversation you almost didn't have, the decision you almost postponed, the idea you almost ignored. These are the moments where opportunities live. They don't disappear, they just slip past the unaware. Many people live their lives waiting for the perfect time, thinking they'll take action when the stars align, or when the right opportunity finally shows up. But the perfect time never arrives. The opportunities were already there. They just didn't look perfect. Awareness is what turns imperfection into possibility. The man who seizes an opportunity doesn't necessarily get more chances than anyone else, he just sees potential where others see inconvenience. He listens when others dismiss, he acts when others hesitate. That small difference in awareness makes the biggest difference in results. Often, opportunities hide inside discomfort. The invitation you're scared to accept, the risk that makes your stomach tighten, the conversation you're afraid to start. These are the places where growth waits, because opportunity doesn't always present itself as something pleasant or easy. It sometimes comes disguised as challenge, as rejection, as uncertainty. When you learn to look beyond the surface, you begin to realize that the things you fear most often contain the very opportunity you've been hoping for. The job you lost might push you to start something new. The relationship that ended might open space for someone better. The rejection might redirect you to a more fulfilling path. Opportunities don't vanish, they transform and wait for you to notice. Our perception shapes our world. Two people can experience the same moment. One sees a dead end. The other sees an opening. The difference isn't luck, it's mindset. If you believe life is full of possibility, you train your brain to look for it. You start paying attention to the small details, the connections, the coincidences. You start recognizing patterns and aligning yourself with them. Awareness makes your mind receptive to chance. Suddenly, what others call coincidence begins to feel like synchronicity. It's not that the universe changed, it's that you did. It's easy to assume opportunities are taken away from us. That timing was wrong, that someone else got lucky, that the door closed before we could reach it. But in truth, doors rarely close forever. They often lead to other paths if you're willing to keep moving. Life rewards momentum. When you keep yourself engaged, curious, and proactive, new doors appear. The man who keeps learning, keeps reaching out, keeps refining his skills, keeps his awareness sharp. He never truly runs out of opportunity, because opportunities are attracted to readiness. The more prepared and aware you are, the more chances you begin to see. People often look back with regret and say, "I missed my chance." But what if that wasn't your only chance? What if life had placed dozens of similar opportunities in your path afterward, but you couldn't see them because you were still staring at the one that passed? Regret narrows awareness. It makes you focus on what's gone instead of what's coming. To see opportunities, you must live in the present, not the past. Every moment contains possibility, but you have to look at it through open eyes, not eyes clouded by disappointment. Sometimes opportunities come in the form of people. The stranger you meet at a coffee shop, the colleague you underestimate, the friend who introduces you to someone new. These interactions often hold unseen potential. A simple conversation can become a collaboration, a friendship, or even a turning point. But most people never notice because they treat interactions as routine. They speak without listening, they engage without curiosity. Awareness means being present enough to sense when energy shifts, when someone's words hold more meaning than they seem to, when life nudges you in a certain direction. The more aware you become in your relationships, the more opportunities you uncover through them. Opportunities also hide inside problems. Every obstacle carries within it the seed of advantage. The man who sees only difficulty misses the lesson. The man who looks deeper sees a solution that others overlooked. Every market gap, every frustration, every inefficiency, these are opportunities waiting to be noticed. History is full of people who turned problems into paths. They weren't necessarily smarter or luckier, they were just more observant. They asked different questions. They paid attention to what others ignored. That level of awareness transforms ordinary challenges into gateways. It's important to understand that opportunities are not given, they're recognized. Life doesn't hand them out evenly, it hides them in plain sight. Two men can walk through the same street, one seeing nothing special, the other spotting potential in every corner. Awareness creates that distinction. It's not about external change, but internal focus. The more conscious you become of patterns, needs, timing, and your own intuition, the more clearly you can spot chances others miss. And once you start noticing them, it's impossible to go back to blindness. Another reason people fail to notice opportunities is distraction. We live in a world full of noise, endless scrolling, constant comparison, mental clutter. When your attention is scattered, your awareness weakens. You can't recognize the subtle signals life sends your way. The conversation you could have joined, the chance to volunteer, the new idea sparked by silence, all of it gets lost when your mind is elsewhere. The key to noticing opportunity is presence. When you're fully engaged in your environment, you start catching the moments that others miss. The universe whispers before it shouts, and awareness is how you hear the whisper. There's also a psychological trap in thinking opportunities belong to a younger version of yourself. Many people, especially as they age, start believing their time has passed. But opportunities don't belong to youth, they belong to awareness and action. The man who stays curious, who stays willing to learn, to connect, to adapt, will keep encountering new doors. Awareness doesn't age. The eyes that truly see don't grow dull with time. If anything, experience sharpens them. The more life you've lived, the more patterns you can recognize. Opportunities often multiply for the aware, no matter the stage of life. Opportunities rarely come labeled as such. They appear as work, as uncertainty, as risk. The job that feels beneath you might be the one that teaches the skill that opens your next chapter. The hobby you start out of curiosity might lead to a new calling. The person you help without expectation might become the key connection that changes your direction. Awareness makes you humble enough to take small chances, to say yes even when it's unclear where the road leads. Those yeses compound over time into transformations. Sometimes noticing an opportunity means listening to intuition. Not every chance looks logical on paper. Awareness isn't only about seeing with the eyes, it's also about feeling with the gut. There are moments when something inside you says, "Pay attention to this," or "Don't let this pass." Awareness teaches you to trust that instinct. It's the mind's way of pointing toward alignment. The people who follow that inner awareness often end up in places logic couldn't have led them. Opportunities also require readiness. You might see a door, but if you're not mentally or emotionally prepared to walk through it, you'll hesitate. That's why awareness must be coupled with growth. When you're constantly improving yourself, you increase your capacity to recognize and seize what comes your way. Every skill you learn, every bit of self-discipline you develop, expands your awareness. You begin to notice opportunities you weren't equipped to handle before. The more you grow, the more life reveals. Every missed opportunity has a lesson attached. Instead of blaming luck or circumstance, awareness asks, "What did I fail to notice?" That question keeps you evolving. You start to realize that opportunities are not random. They align with the level of your attention. When your mind is open, your world expands. When your awareness deepens, what once seemed ordinary begins to sparkle with potential. You see patterns in chaos, meaning in coincidence, and direction in uncertainty. Opportunities have always been there, they were simply waiting for you to notice them.